Hey friends, we are looking at the Truck Camper 2-in-1 build by Tokmoc. It's set number 66008 with 2,188 pieces. In this video, we're going to look at the completed model here, and we're going to look at it in all its configurations, and we're going to take this camper shell off. We'll do the farm truck mode with just a standard pickup, and we'll open up the camper shell as well, because it's got a full interior with a bathroom, a kitchen, a full-size fridge, all sorts of stuff going on. And there are a bunch of side builds here, so you can enjoy camping or car camping, van life. And then these side builds over here are for the pickup truck build part of it. And yeah, so just right off the bat, here is a minifigure for scale. So you'll see that the minifigure works well with some side builds, but not with the overall truck. But once you get on the inside, this minifigure works with some of the inside, but not all of the inside. And it works with some of the accessories on the roof, but not all of the accessories on the roof. So it's an unusual mix of scales, and I have a theory I've been working on as to why the scales get mixed up like that. But what are we looking at? This is a 1940s, 1950s style vintage pickup truck that has a more modern camper shell on the back of it. And the camper shell is meant to sit right in the truck bed. And it has these like pistons that help you get it off, and that will let it sit on the ground on its own if you were to take the truck and move the truck away from it. And this is, we know it's modern because it has these solar panels on top. It's got a sunroof. Here's the door here. There's a couple of access panels, and it's got this awning that will unfurl, and we'll take a closer look at that too. And you see that the truck itself is a very vintage classic style to it. It even retains the white wall tires, which is really nice. More access doors here, a window into I think that's the kitchen area or maybe an eating area there, another access panel. So we'll take a closer look at all of those too. Gosh, there's so many access panels. I forgot about this one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 different access panels. And then you get to look here at the back too. So we'll look at this ladder, the spare tire. This is a mini split, the exterior part of it. And then we'll look at the accessories that come on the roof. Oh, and there's one more access panel here too. So we'll look at that as well. All right, so let's zoom in. Let's take a closer look. So there's a lot to look at here. So I thought we'd start with just the pickup itself. And I've pulled the camper shell off to the side there. And let's zoom in. So the thing that I loved the most when I first saw this was these white walls, and it's accomplished by doing a white wheel with this hubcap cover that uses the body color as well as a silver painted piece. And so you step back, you look at it, it looks like it's a white wall, but the tire is just a standard tire. So they did a clever job there with that. I like that a lot. And then headlights are in here. The yellow that they used here is a little bit milky. It's a little strange. I've never seen that happen before. It's not the best yellow. And then these grill lines are just flexible hoses. So you can see they actually move, just they wiggle a little bit. So getting those positioned just right takes a little time, but it's an effective way to handle like a chrome or silver grill. License plate, that is I want to say that is a print, C3100. I don't know if that's an Easter egg. Tokmoc, to my knowledge, doesn't do Easter eggs. They just kind of do, they're really kind of, what's the word, straight about everything. They don't really do anything cheeky that I know of. I love the shaping for the fenders. They did a good job there. This hood too comes up. It has that the line that goes this way, as well as a line that cuts in and noses into kind of a sharper feature up at the front. That's really nicely done. But these are perfect the way they have these curves and they come down. Same with the back. If you look at the back, right, it has that curved fender arch. It's really well done. It's both curved and squared off at the same time. They have a suggestion of step rails along the side here, and then you've got these side view mirrors. The window is handled with two windscreen pieces. Each of them has a printed wiper blade on them. We have windows for the sides as well. I don't think these are as successful. I think you could have actually just left them out. It would have been nicer. And here are the doors. The doors are quite large and they do open. So I can pull on it. It has that hinge. It opens all the way up. And you can see that there's a interior too there. Don't love the way that these window pieces are held on, right? They're only held on by these transparent 2x2 inverted circle plates right here. And so we do see that there's a steering wheel in here. We see that there's a couple meters, and there are a suggestion of pedals along the ground as well. I do like the seats. Seats are actually two-tone, so two-tone front, two-tone bottom with a two-tone upper. It's really nice, looks pretty cozy, and you've got a window back here as well, looking out into the bed. While we're here, let's just pull the window pieces out. You can see what I mean. First of all, they're just these three independent pieces like this, so I'm just gonna pull them off like that. And then you'll see once we close the door up, I think it looks better without it, right? Let me know what you think. I think it looks better, right? As opposed to this kind of, you can't quite see through it kind of look. It looks like it's broken glass or cracked glass. And then here, I'm not sure what this is and why these were exposed studs there. I need to kind of go back and see if I can find that and figure out what is missing there. And then inside the truck bed, you'll see that there is wood paneling. And this wood paneling are all prints. So there's one print right here, which is a 1x6. This is a 2x6 print. And then there's a really large 6x6 print here, as well as another 6x6 print here. And the thing is that these two 6x6 prints are different. They're unique so that all of the wood grain lines up just right and it doesn't repeat itself. They would have saved money by just printing one of them and giving you two of them and putting them in here. But they actually went to the effort of creating two different prints, even though most people, 99% of the world, would not care or notice that they are different. But they went ahead and made them different. And they could have even designed them so that it would have lined up and the wood grain would have been okay. But they didn't design it that way. They said, let's go ahead and make them different. So appreciate that they did that. They also have the fenders intruding into the truck bed, just like in a real truck. This they didn't have to do this extra shaping here, but they did it, and that really helps sell this as a real truck bed, which is really cool. And then you saw that I just folded down the tail gate, and it's a little bit fragile, but it works really well from a visual standpoint, and getting it back in place takes a little finessing. It doesn't always want to clip in straight. So you see I'm kind of struggling with getting it to go back in there, and you do it too hard and it'll start to pull parts of the truck off that are not supposed to come off. So yeah, that might be the most vertical I'm able to get it. And then I like these silver painted bumpers. They have that in the front and the back, and they use these extra accents, like here, the skateboard pieces, ice skating pieces that are here to just kind of give it that vertical detail that these bumpers would have. And coming around, you see that we also have a gas cap that is right where it should be, and of course chrome door handles too, and exposed hinge here, but that's not the end of the world. And yeah, that's pretty nice. I'm not sure what this exposed stud is here too, so I don't see anything on the instructions for that, and so I'm not sure what that's all about. Okay, so let's take a look now at the camper shell. Okay, so starting at the rear, at the door, you'll see that there is this step, and it folds out of the way too, so it's a step that can let you get up and access, and it's quite high off the ground, so that makes sense that it's there. And again, check out once we open the door, check out the scale difference here, right, with a minifig. So that's a minifigure, and the size of that door, let's put him in here. The size of that door is maybe 4 times as tall, or 3 times as tall as him. So he's not really meant for that door to be sized for it. I do like that they've made a brick built door. That's kind of nice. And there is a ladder right here, and it's made of these silver pieces, these smaller ladder pieces, and they're all independent. So you see they're separate. And so getting them lined up is a little bit tricky. I have to work at it a little to get them all lined up just so. And then once you got them, you just don't touch it, right? Tail lights there, right? Tail and turn signal lights as well. It's got a spare tire, which is nice. Let's move the spare tire off of there. And doing that will give us access to what's underneath. There is one storage door here. Let's open that up gingerly. Oh, that is tight. All right, there we go. And then inside there is this unit that you pull out. Now, what is this? I have no idea. Is it a generator? Like maybe it's one of those Honda generators and it's meant to sit this way? Or is it a suitcase? I don't know. Let me know what you think this is. I thought maybe at first it might be a barbecue grill, but we already have a side build for a barbecue, so I don't know what this would be. Yeah, it's either a suitcase or a generator. Those are my guesses, and it just goes right back in there. And this, wow, these are really tight. I don't know what the deal is with those. All right, and then another look at that mini split with, this is a printed piece here. I'm not sure why it's decorated that way. It's unusual for it. Okay, and then off to the side on this side here, we've got another access point here. And this just goes to where there's a sofa. There's a sofa on the inside there. And we've got another door. Let's go down. Another door right there. And I'm not sure what this is. Does it come out? Oh, it does come out. Let's see what that is here. So I don't know. I don't know what that is, but that's what's there. Maybe this is it a battery, some sort of a module? I'm not sure. And then one more compartment here. I'm guessing that is a hookup of some kind. And it's loose in there. So maybe those are things that are meant to just sit in there, and they're not meant to be pulled out. And that's just access doors to your gray water, your sewage, etc. So maybe that's what that is. All right, and then going up, we see this window into the eating area, and we've got 2 more access panels. This one goes to nothing, and then this one, they're a little bit hard to open, so if I accidentally press them down too much, then it's all over. You cannot get them open again, which is a bummer. So right now it's stuck, right? So I'm gonna have to get my knife in here. There we go, and get it open. So there you go. What's in there? Nothing. So there's 2 of those that have nothing. And coming around the front here, there's a window into the sleeping area. And here is a printed piece that says tourist. And now is a good time for me to mention that I left off a lot of stickers. There's this whole sticker sheet, and all of these are supposed to go on the camper shell itself. And I just couldn't bring myself to put them on there. To me, they don't add that much, and they just obscure and make it kind of ugly. So I left all of these off, and they're not on there. There was one more panel I wanted to show you. It's this one right here. You open that up and you see what looks like a silver tank. And this is right below the sink inside. So I think that could be a water reservoir for the camper. These are not, they don't do anything. And then you can see over here, there's like, I think this is maybe wardrobe that is just sitting there. I'm not sure. That one is a mystery to me too. And again, problematic because of the scale. And let's look at the awning. So let's do it at an angle here. So the awning is on two flexible pieces. So all I've got to do is just pull it straight out and it starts to straighten itself out. There we go. So that's how the awning works. And it gives you a fairly decent spread, and it kind of locks open as well pretty well. So there you go. That's the awning. And I don't know if we could tilt this up so you can see how that mechanism works. Let's see if we can do that without destroying everything. There you go. You can almost see how that works, right? So they're almost like they're just hinged pole pieces that open up in just the right way. Okay, and then on the top here we have more accessories. So we have like a igloo ice cooler, and it has a top that opens up, and you can remove it too. Does it open up? It has. I thought it opened up. There we go. That's the most you can do to open it up. And inside you got a couple bottles, green bottles, and some ice in the middle. And then this closes it up like that. And then you've also got two bicycles. They're super tiny for the scale, but they're right for a minifigure. And you've got a kayak, and it's right for a minifigure, but super tiny for the scale. And then you've got this double-sided oar, or an oar, safety rail so you don't fall off. And there is this opening sunroof for opening ventilation, and then two of these solar panels. So this does fold, and then the solar panels, they fold as well. You can get them out of the way, or you can get them so that they're getting the right amount of sun in the right places. All right, and then this entire top opens up. So we're gonna lift that now. We'll see how that goes, right? So I can gingerly pull on the top here, and the whole thing lifts right off. Here's a look at the back of it. All right, so the top, with the top off, you can see into the inside. So we're going to move the camera so we can get a better look on the inside. All right, so when you come in through the door, the first thing you'll see is there is a seating area, like a sofa right here. So can't quite see that just yet. We'll move the camera a little bit or move this around. But what you see on the other side is a kitchenette area. So there's a oven, some controls for a countertop, and we've got a pot as well as a pan, and we've got an egg on top of that pan that's loose. And then we have a sink. So we've got the faucets, and then we've got these loose like water pieces that are just sitting in this nice little white sink that's there. And next to that sink is a fold down counter, so you can get a little bit more counter space, or maybe this is actually somewhere you sit to eat, because there is another table next to it. So I'm not sure what that is. It could just be just maybe more counter space. And then folding that up, you'll see that there are drawers down in here too. So there's one of them that's already open. I noticed that the drawers are really loose. So these two drawers, just by gravity, they'll come floating out. And then on the other side here, you'll see that there's a table that folds. So you could completely fold this out of the way or down or up if you needed to. And then it's got a vase with some flowers. There's two seating, like a banquet style, like a booth style seating area here. And oh, this might not be pressed all the way down. That's kind of strange. I'm afraid to press it because some of the things are a little bit gentle or fragile. There is a clock here, and then over here we've got a image of the family that is traveling. From this view, I think we can see the part of the mini split that's on the inside there, and you can see it's 26 degrees centigrade. And then there's a better look at the yellow sofa. And then this is a table that just kind of folds out of the way in case you want to use a table while you're sitting there. I'll mention that the yellow that's in this kit is a little bit like a mustard yellow. I think it's not the correct yellow. I don't think they intended it to be that way. It looks sort of like a a cheap yellow. It's not a great yellow. All right, and then this blue box here, this is actually a refrigerator. It's a full size, maybe, refrigerator. Look at that. It's got a glass front. This would probably be considered a luxury fridge in a home. Opening door, and then you've got different items inside there. And this red jar is actually a printed piece. It's got a picture of an apple on it. And so I don't know what these things are, maybe eggs or other jars. And then the very top, you've got a milk, two milk cartons, and those are printed pieces too. And so yeah, that just sits in there next to this pipe that you see. There's this silver pipe with a vent. I do not know what that is. I I know a little bit about van life, but I've never seen interior venting before. That's a little strange. And then we have the bed area. So a nice pillow, yellow comforter, um, a like an end table with a lamp. And then in case you get thirsty in the middle of the night, there's a teapot and water there with a really generous shelf space there. That's really nice. On the other side, you'll see this is some storage maybe for clothing, and then a couple of drawers there. And this is probably for clothing. It's a little bit of a, I don't know, is it a cheat or a lazy way of showing clothing? Um, yeah, I think so. I think it's a lazy way of doing it, especially because it's not in scale with the rest of the model. It's only in scale with minifigures, so that's a little strange. All right, and then we've got a bathroom, and this is probably the heaviest way to accomplish a bathroom is to use these kind of materials here, these like a clear glass. I don't know why they chose that, but it's clearly a bathroom. And let's see if we can get a better look inside here. I mean, there is this door, so it's again another giant glass door. And on the interior, let's tilt this a little bit. On the interior, there's a full toilet build right there, you can see. And there's also a shower head on a stand. And then was there a sink? There might be no sink, but there was a suggestion of toilet paper. So if you see next to the toilet and right there's a little bit of a toilet paper. You see how that drawer is just held in with gravity. So yeah, there's that going on. And then they do have this photo of a tent. It's not a photo, actually it says TV. So maybe this is how they watch TV. They sit in the booth here and they watch TV. And then this here is a cloth piece that we think is maybe a bath towel or something like that that's stored there. Oh, and almost forgot these two cabinets. They open up and you've got a couple of jars that you build. They have you put in there too. So that's kind of nice. So a lot of detail, a lot of things going on in there. Is it minifigure scale? I think you understand now that, like, yes, some stuff is minifigure scale, some stuff is not. So once you start to put him in here, you see that he barely reaches the height of the stovetop, and he doesn't reach the height of the sink at all. That's how short he is, right? So yeah, there you go. Okay, so let's keep going. Here's the truck in pickup mode, in farmer mode, and it has these wooden guards that you can assemble and then put on each side. So I put those on there. I found out what those two studs are. They are to hold the spare tires, and that's really a nice touch. And then inside, they give you a couple of crates where you can have bananas, eggs, and then two pumpkins all kind of just sitting there, and they're all just sort of free floating. But really nice. This is a nice little model on its own, and I'm glad that they included this. So when the box says 2-in-1, this is the other build, so that you could just have a classic farm pickup. Here are the side builds. You get a couple of camp folding chairs. One of them is holding a bottle, and there is this kind of a nice ornate campfire. Look at all the pieces they use there, and it's all based on top of a splat gear. And there's like logs all layered up, pretty nice. And then we've got this too, which is a folding table with a radio on the back of it, as well as a lantern and then a camera. And then it comes with this guitar, which is loose. I just decided to put it right there. And then you've got this barbecue grill. Has a turkey leg or chicken leg on it. Bit of like fire you can see there. And maybe these are tongs or things. There's definitely a knife there. And I like this suggestion that this is the hood for it, and it kind of close it over from here, and it's in its open position. Oh, and you get a dog. Roof, roof. I almost forgot to mention that the front wheels are connected to each other. So if you move one wheel, the other one moves with it. So they are connected. They have a little bit of a Technic mechanism there. So I thought that was a nice touch. It's not connected to the steering wheel in any way, but they use the extra pieces to do that. My thoughts on this are that it's a pretty good set if you're here for the truck. This is one of the best truck models that I've done in a while, and the shaping, everything is just gorgeous. And it is a larger scale like you would see with Lego's Creator or Icon series. It's probably scaled really well with that. And if you love van life and RVs, then that's a bonus, because now you have an RV that from the outside works, and with it, if you're not looking too closely, it works. Everything looks fine, and it looks like a nice RV out there. The build quality, as far as the bricks goes, let's start with the bricks. I think they were okay, and the instructions were okay too. I didn't find myself lost with the colors really ever, and they were easy to follow. Again, I didn't like the stickers, so I left those off. This is a finicky build, so there are times where you're building it and you'll touch or hold the model in the wrong way, or press down on the model in the wrong way, and things will collapse. For example, the roof here, you press on it in the wrong way. For example, this nougat area here, if you try to press that, it breaks a bunch of stuff on the inside, and you're going to have to fish all those pieces out and then repair it. Same with the floor of this RV or camper shell. If you press the furniture down too hard, the floor pops off, and not only that, but there's a box structure underneath that fits into the bed. That box structure will fall off, and then you're going to be fishing out all the parts and then rebuilding it. And rebuilding that stuff is hard once you've already got a full interior. Now you're figuring out what to press down on while pressing up at the same time, and that becomes really finicky, and it gets old really fast. And then these side builds are interesting, but again, they're not to scale. All right, so here's my theory on scale that I've been talking to some friends on YouTube, and here's what I think. I think because they cannot add minifigures to these sets for legal reasons, they leave the minifigures out, and then they just start building it, and they design it, and it's done. And once it's done, they're thinking, okay, how do we add even more value? How do we add side builds? How do we add a kayak and bikes? And they think, you know what, let's just go ahead and add what Lego's already created. So way easier to just grab this existing kayak and throw it on there. Way easier to just grab these existing bikes and throw them in there. And if you don't include minifigures, nobody's going to notice that the scale is all over the place. But if they were forced to include minifigures the way that Lumi Bricks or Fantasy do, then immediately as you're trying to place it or even do product photos, you realize, there's a problem here. This doesn't work. The things are out of scale. It does not make logical sense. But by not including minifigures, it almost gives them an out to just do whatever they want to with the scale, because it's harder for people to pick up on until you see minifigures in the images, and if you're not intending it to be a play set, then again, it doesn't really matter what the scale is. You're just making a model. You make it once, and you're not really going to be interacting with it, and your minifigs are not going to be interacting with it either. Okay, so that's my theory. It all comes down to the fact that they don't include minifigures. If they don't include minifigures, then it gives them license or to just do the scale however they want. And either it's giving them license, or that's just by omission. They just don't even realize how awful the scale is. Okay, so do I like it? I do like it. Does it work as a playset? No. Is it fragile? Yes. And would I recommend it? Yes, especially for this pickup truck. This is a beautiful pickup truck. All right, there you go. I hope you got to see everything that you wanted to see. Like the video if you like it, and subscribe. That'll help me keep bringing new sets to share with all you guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you all.